There's a strange pattern happening across the United States, and it's not immediately obvious until you look a little closer. Some of the places people move to the fastest are also the ones locals quietly warn you about, and that contradiction tends to reveal itself only after you've already settled in. Cities that look affordable on paper, towns that promise space or sunshine, regions labeled as up and coming, they all attract steady streams of new residents. But when you talk to people who have actually lived there for a while, the tone shifts in a subtle but consistent way. So the real question isn't just where people are going, it's why so many eventually leave and what exactly they didn't see coming. These rankings weigh affordability, long-term stability, infrastructure pressure, and the everyday trade-offs people actually experience living there. So, let's break it down. Number 10. Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas sells freedom with no state income tax, constant entertainment, and a sense that life can be more flexible, more spontaneous, maybe even a little easier. On the surface, it looks like a place where your money stretches further and your schedule loosens up. But here's where the shift begins. The economy is heavily tied to tourism, and in slower periods, that dependence becomes very visible, especially for workers outside specialized roles. At the same time, the climate quietly reshapes daily life like summers are not just freaking hot. They are sustained and relentless, often pushing normal routines into early mornings or late evenings, which sounds manageable until you realize how long that season actually lasts. Daily life often revolves around staying indoors, managing utility costs, and adjusting expectations around what comfortable living really means. Which works well until your air conditioning bill becomes one of your largest monthly expenses. Number 9. Stockton, California. Stockton sells proximity, close enough to the Bay Area to feel connected, but far enough away to appear affordable, especially compared to cities where housing costs have become almost unreachable. For many, it looks like a practical compromise. But this is where things get complicated. Housing may be cheaper than San Francisco, yet many residents end up trading price for time, with commutes that frequently stretch well beyond an hour each way, sometimes longer depending on traffic. Infrastructure hasn't always kept pace with population shifts, and in recent years, many reports suggest economic volatility remains part of the local reality. Daily life becomes a balancing act between saving money and losing time, which sounds reasonable until the routine starts to wear on you. Compared to Las Vegas, Stockton offers milder weather and more regional access, but the pressure shifts from climate to schedule, and that trade-off is not always obvious up front. We move on. Number 8. Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson sells affordability, with lower home prices and a lower overall cost of living, creating the possibility of ownership without extreme financial strain. For many, that's a powerful draw, but the numbers tell a more layered story. Infrastructure challenges are often reported as ongoing, and water system issues have gained national attention in recent years, highlighting deeper structural concerns. Job opportunities can also be limited depending on your field, which adds another layer to the equation. Daily life here can feel unpredictable in ways that go beyond budgeting, and that unpredictability tends to show up at inconvenient times. One local sentiment captures it well. Affordable doesn't always mean stable, and once you experience that difference firsthand, it becomes difficult to ignore. Number 7. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix sells sunshine, space, and growth with wide suburban expansion, increasing job opportunities, and a sense that the city is constantly moving forward. It feels like momentum. But that momentum comes with pressure, like water availability is frequently discussed. Housing prices have risen sharply in recent years, and summer temperatures regularly reach extremes that reshape how people plan their days. Running errands in the middle of summer isn't just inconvenient, it becomes something you actively schedule around. And that's where the adjustment begins. What looks like a lifestyle upgrade slowly turns into a set of environmental constraints. Compared to Jackson, Phoenix offers more economic opportunity, but at a much higher long-term environmental cost, and that balance is becoming harder to ignore. Look at number 6, Detroit, Michigan. Detroit sells comeback stories, with affordable homes, revitalized districts, and the idea that you can be part of a city that is rebuilding itself. In certain areas, that narrative holds. But this is where the reality becomes more uneven. The recovery is not uniform, and conditions can change dramatically from one neighborhood to the next, sometimes within a short distance. Some areas are improving quickly, while others continue to deal with vacancy, limited services, and aging infrastructure. Winters are long, and the built environment reflects decades of shifting investment. Daily life depends heavily on where you are located, which creates a version of the city that is not easily summarized. There's a local saying that comes up often: Detroit isn't one city, it's many. And understanding that distinction is essential before making any assumptions. Number 5. New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans sells culture with music, food, history, and a sense of place that is difficult to replicate anywhere else in the country. It draws people in with personality. But this is where the underlying risk becomes more visible. Insurance costs have risen sharply in recent years, often reported as among the highest in the region, and flood risk remains a constant factor in everyday planning. Infrastructure challenges tend to surface during heavy rain, and those moments are not rare. There's a story locals sometimes mention. After a storm, a residential street that usually hosted weekend gatherings saw cars drifting through standing water, not dramatically, just enough to change how people think about normal life. And that's the part that stays with you. It wasn't unusual. Compared to Detroit, New Orleans offers warmth and cultural depth, but far greater environmental uncertainty, and that trade-off carries long-term implications. Here we are, number 4, Albuquerque, New Mexico. In Albuquerque, they sell scenery, with open skies, mountain views, and a slower pace that appeals to people looking for distance from larger, faster-moving cities. At first glance, it feels like relief. But the economic picture introduces a different kind of tension. Growth has been modest compared to other southwestern cities, and job markets can be limited depending on specialization, which narrows long-term options. Crime concerns are also frequently mentioned in local discussions, adding another layer to the decision. Daily life becomes a balance between lifestyle and opportunity, and that balance does not always hold. So compared to Phoenix, Albuquerque offers less environmental pressure, but also fewer economic pathways, and that difference becomes more noticeable over time. Number 3, Memphis in Tennessee. Memphis sells affordability and identity, with music history, cultural depth, and housing costs that remain lower than many comparable cities. Yes, it has a presence, but this is where the structural issues become harder to overlook. Many reports suggest crime remains a significant concern, and economic mobility can be limited in certain areas, creating uneven outcomes across the city. Infrastructure and investment vary widely, and that variability shapes daily life more than most people expect. There's a small but telling pattern. A local business owner reportedly relocated twice in a few years. Not because the business failed, but because the surrounding environment changed in ways that made operations more difficult. That kind of instability doesn't always show up in headlines, but it shows up in daily decisions. Look closer. Number 2, Austin, Texas. Austin sells opportunity with a growing tech sector, cultural energy, and a reputation as one of the most desirable cities in the country, especially for younger professionals. For years, it represented a better alternative. But this is where the perception begins to lag behind reality. Austin is no longer the affordable option it once was, and in recent years, housing costs have risen sharply, often approaching levels seen in much larger coastal markets. Traffic congestion has increased alongside rapid population growth, while infrastructure continues to catch up. Daily life now includes longer commutes, higher costs, and increasing competition for space. Compared to Memphis, Austin offers significantly more opportunity, but at a price point that changes the entire equation, and not everyone adjusts as easily as expected. The idea of Austin hasn't fully updated, and that gap matters. Finally, and if you're still here, don't forget to like and subscribe. Number 1, Miami, Florida. Miami sells the dream, with beaches, sunshine, international culture, and a lifestyle that feels elevated and almost effortless from the outside. It looks like an upgrade. But this is where the pattern becomes clear. Costs have risen rapidly in recent years, particularly for housing and insurance, while wages in many sectors have not kept pace, creating a widening imbalance. Flood risk and climate concerns are frequently discussed, not as distant possibilities, but as ongoing considerations that shape long-term planning. Daily life often becomes a negotiation between lifestyle and sustainability, and there's a subtle trend that appears again and again. Many people move to Miami for the experience, but fewer remain long-term, and that turnover reflects something deeper than preference. Compared to Austin, Miami offers stronger lifestyle appeal but less economic balance, and that combination is difficult to sustain over time. And this is the pattern we started with: places that attract quickly, but quietly push back once you're there. These rankings aren't about avoiding places entirely. They're about understanding what comes with them, because every city offers something and every region takes something back, often in ways that only become visible after you arrive. If you prefer clear analysis over glossy marketing, this channel is built for you, and next time, we'll look at the opposite side of the map, where some overlooked places quietly got the balance right.